With the election drawing closer and closer with every passing day, ESPN has decided to put out a memo for their on-air talent to tell them what they can and can't do vis-a-vis political speech and talking about candidates and issues, who they are voting for, and things like that. So here are a few small sections from that memo. We should refrain from political editorializing, personal attacks, or drive-by comments regarding the candidates and their campaigns, including but not limited to on platforms such as Twitter or other social media. They did grant an exception to staffers at 538, the Nate Silver-founded property that regularly covers politics and sports using data. That makes sense.
Using data.
Yeah, exactly. They also... That's true. That's an attack on a lot of other media outlets.
Such a new idea.
If an employee is covering a candidate who appeared at a game or live event, they are to avoid political commentary or prolonged references, according to the memo. So, like, you can, like, mention Waterboy or Office Space, but you can't do a whole bunch of those references. Anyway, yeah, so it went on and on and on about the different things they can talk about, and basically, they don't want their hosts talking about politics. Now, this is a sports network, which I don't watch a lot of, so for those of you who might actually watch it, do you think it makes sense for them to sort of get out in front of this sort of thing? Should there be some open expression? I mean, you have people like Keith Olbermann who are obviously extremely experienced and talented with both the sports side, but they're also extremely politically
The problem comes
opinionated.
more from the right-wingers on ESPN, because Keith Olbermann, if he says something, yes, it might be political, but it's not going to be batshit crazy, racist, or fucking, off the charts, which is what happens. So that's a bigger problem.
No, in this case, Brady's not, because he's about to play in the Super Bowl. He's an athlete not only in midseason, getting ready to play in the ultimate game, and is allowed to focus on that game. After Sunday, we can talk about Brady's position vis-a-vis Trump. Robert Kraft is in a very different position. Yes, you could say he doesn't want to cause a distraction to his team, et cetera. And the excuse, because you need an excuse at this point for your support of Trump. His excuse is they're close personal friends, and Trump has been there for him, and that's a very good excuse. But history is watching, and Kraft and eventually Brady are going to have some answering to do. When the President of the United States is lying or either doesn't understand the information, and I don't know which is worse, when the executive branch may be publicly defying a federal court order, which is ignoring a check on power, when the position vis-a-vis Russia lines up exactly with the Kremlin's and there could be business conflicts, these are things that have, in my lifetime, in my memory, have never happened before. This is not usual. There's no equivalency with other administrations we've seen. And it is a critical point in American history. And to pretend it's not, to pretend history is not watching is not true. It is. And people like Robert Kraft do have to answer now. And he has. And he, I think, gave the best possible answer. I still don't think it's good enough. And Brady, who's an athlete about to play in the Super Bowl, does not at this moment. So, no, Brady is at this moment not being let off the hook. You want it, Stephen A?
Go ahead, Will. Go ahead.
We're trying to decide how to react to Tom Brady's one-week reprieve from answering before the Inquisition on his political views. So he gets a pass this week, but next week, that's the week we'll all drag him out in front of the public and really force his hand.
That's right, Will.
Yeah.
That's right. You're going to pretend that this is not unusual, that bad stuff isn't going on? Do you want to pretend?
I'll tell you what I'm not going to have to pretend about.
Max.
I'm going to tell you what I'm not going to have to pretend about. I'll tell you this. The argument that you forward, and you're not alone, there are many. There are many with blogs, there are many with podiums, there are many with microphones who say similar things to you, reminds me of someone who's never had to win an argument in 8+ years, who's never had to actually engage in a debate, who's never actually had to persuade someone over a very long period of time, because the only possible position you can see at this point is that if somebody disagrees with you, they have an unacceptable position. Not that they're
incorrect,
wrong.
Will. Facts
Max,
are facts. I'm sorry,
Max,
you can't get away with that. Facts
finish.
are facts.
Will, finish.
No. I'm not going to let anyone get away with saying facts aren't facts,
Okay,
and everyone's entitled to their own set of facts.
Let him go, Max, and then you can respond.
Let him go. You're right there.
Max,
Let him
here's
speak.
the
Go
thing,
ahead, Will.
man. Here's the thing. I have afforded you respect on every single debate you've ever established or put forward with me. I would expect the same. And excuses and interruptions and calling to account and holding people accountable in front of the public as though you need to flog them for their political views, to me, Max, I'm going to be quite honest here, are the ultimate height of weakness. If you
This
have
is
an
not
argument,
political, Will. This is common decency.
If you have an argument If you have an argument with Tom Brady, if you have an argument with Robert Kraft, if you have an argument with Donald Trump, make your argument. Make your argument before the public. Persuade them. But this inquisition that you're on, not just you, I don't mean to be, this is not targeted at Max Kellerman because it's much bigger than that. But this inquisition of anyone that disagrees with you and suggesting that they are so far beyond the pale. And I guess I need to make this clear one more time. This isn't even something I don't think I disagree with you on, Max.
Sure.
But I have a larger point to make. And that is that you need to open yourself up to actually having an argument to ever win one. You will continue to lose. You will lose it here with me today. Yes, you will lose it with me today. You will lose it in elections. You will lose your principle. You will lose your position because you're not actually facing up to the debate.
Lost the argument.
You're not facing up to the debate. What you're doing is you're dragging public figures out and saying we must expose them for anything they disagree with me on. You're doing it over and over, and once they speak, we interrupt, we shame, we shout down.
Well, wait,
you don't persuade.
This is a story that's actually a day and a half old, but the reason it's today's story is because ESPN has finally reacted to the comments of their own commentator, Rob Parker. Okay, so let me read you the comments, right, and then I want you to react to them.
All right.
This is Rob Parker on ESPN2's First Take, talking about Robert Griffin III, RG3. Quote, is he a brother or is he a cornball brother? He's not real. Okay, he's black. He kind of does the thing, but he's not really down with the cause. He's not one of us. He's kind of black, but he's not really. Like the guy you want to hang out with because he's off to something else. All right, he also went on to say that because he has a white fiance, he's heard he's a Republican. So let me just give you kind of what the white viewer thinks when they see this.
Okay.
And you tell me, as a former NFL player, but also as a black man, what the truth is, what your perspective is. Okay?
All right.
So I watch this and I think to myself, all right, maybe there's some validity to this, only in that this is the discussion that black men have.
False.
Okay.
Stop right there. First of all, let me say this. I apologize to all people out there, not just African-American people, black people, white people. I apologize to all people for the comments of someone who's clearly lost touch with what century it is, okay? First of all, what is the cause? What cause are we down for right now?
Well, I mean,
Okay,
I think...
Question. Do you know of any black athlete that won just 2 playoff games, didn't have any kind of postseason success whatsoever, that gets celebrated like this? Do you know who that person is? Because I don't know him. I've never seen it. Usually there is a requirement to have a strong level of success in order to garner the kind of celebratory atmosphere and ambiance
well, do you
that
know
we
any
saw from
athlete,
Romo.
Stephen A., let me ask you this. Let's leave race out of it just for a moment, then we can bring it back in. I can't think of any other athlete that's been treated this way.
Fair enough.
And this guy
Fair
happens
enough.
not to be a black athlete, and so then we can make that point. But I also can't think of another white athlete, maybe it exists off the top of my head, I can't think of one, who is feted to this extent, considering they really did have very modest success.
Tim Tebow, but we'll get to that in a moment.
Wait a minute. I was getting ready to go to Tim Tebow route, okay? So therefore, I kind of disagree with that. But the point is that as an African-American, I'm telling you, these are the kind of things. I'm basically enlightening y'all to the fact that these are the kind of things. Let me finish. I'm enlightening you about the fact that these are the kind of things away from the white community, that when folks in the black community huddle amongst ourselves and talk about things and talk about discrepancies, it's the kind of stuff that irks us because we know that those are the kind of things that are not reserved for us. Sports is supposed to be the closest thing to a meritocracy. Where is it here? I'm not blaming the Mavericks or anybody else. Blaming Tony Romo. It's not his fault, but it's a reality.
No, you want to talk about a farce. The seriousness with which you two both now have attached what is essentially a fun and celebratory moment for the city of Dallas is beyond the pale. First of all, Max just making it something about, oh, it's way beyond the realm of his ability to deserve this, and it somehow deprived some other player being on the court or undermined the game of basketball, quite honestly, is laughable. Basketball has its own problems about undermining the meaningfulness of its games. And Stephen A., I'm going to preface this with, you know me, you know I respect you, yes?
Yeah, go ahead.
No, but seriously, you know I respect you.
I said yes, I'm waiting to hear what you have to say so I can respond.
What you just said was so much nonsense and so much junk. To make this racial is so far beyond the pale that it makes real racial issues hard to pay attention to.
A truly extraordinary moment in the world of sports tonight. Nearly 40 years ago, Bruce Jenner, all muscle and grit, burst into the national consciousness while capturing Olympic glory. And tonight, Caitlyn Jenner, draped in a glamorous white dress, having recently become perhaps the most famous face in the transgender community, received a major honor at the ESPYs.
Ladies and gentlemen, the courageous, the stunning Caitlyn Jenner.
A standing ovation tonight for an athlete who became an American hero at the Olympics and may now be changing America itself. Caitlyn Jenner kissing her mother and then walking to the stage at the ESPYs right here on ABC to accept the Arthur Ashe Courage Award.
It's been eye-opening, inspiring, but also frightening. All across this country right now, all across the world, at this very moment, there are young people coming to terms with being transgender.
With help from Angelina Jolie's stylist, Jenner sparkled in a stunning Versace dress, a stark contrast to Bruce Jenner, the athlete we've known for decades. The chiseled sportsman with the all-American good looks, setting a world record in the grueling decathlon in the 1976 Olympics. 10 events over 2 days, pushing the limits of human strength, speed, and endurance. The former Olympic champ, once regarded as the world's greatest athlete, now championing something greater.
This transition has been harder on me than anything I could imagine. And that's the case for so many others besides me. For that reason alone, trans people deserve something vital. They deserve your respect.
Her speech was preceded by a moving video tribute narrated by John Hamm, which traced Jenner's extraordinary personal arc, from Olympic great to corporate pitchman to reality show dad to isolated individual trying to maintain privacy under the glare of the paparazzi.
Jenner went in for a procedure to reduce his Adam's apple.
And there was a picture of my dad crying in his car. That was really, really hard to see because my dad does not cry.
Independent, so Sage Steele, we were talking about it, she got fired from ESPN and replaced with the white woman she's always wanted to be. Sage is famous for saying that black people have been more racist to her than white people have. We'll see about that. It wasn't BET who fired you. It wasn't Radio 1. It wasn't TV 1. So, you know, I'm just saying, they would place a blind black woman with a blonde white one. I couldn't laugh harder.
One of ESPN's most popular analysts is out of a job tonight after a post about the transgender bathroom issue on social media. CBS 2's Tom Wade is live with reaction from Curt Schilling himself. Tom.
And tonight, Pat, he posted on his blog, we'll have that for you in just a second, but ESPN took swift action in this case. They said Schilling's actions were unacceptable, and they showed him the door. This is the crass meme that cost retired baseball star Curt Schilling his job at ESPN after he shared it on his Facebook page. It reads, "Let him into the restroom with your daughter, or else you're a narrow-minded, judgmental, unloving, racist bigot who needs to die."
That image was grotesque.
Outsports.com co-founder Sid Ziegler broke the story on Schilling's shared post.
If Curt Schilling had responded to the criticism with contrition and apology and a desire to learn more, maybe he wouldn't be without a job right now.
Schilling is a former all-star pitcher and was one of ESPN's most high-profile baseball analysts. After the story broke, Schilling ranted on his blog against those attacking him.
Hundreds of thousands of women have come out to make sure their voice is heard, and we're going to talk to them.
It's not as much of a protest as it is a demonstration and a proclamation of what we believe to be true, and that's, you know, women's rights are human rights.
I personally feel that I wanted to be a part of something that 20 years from now I can say, yes, I was there, and this is what I saw, and this is what it felt like.
I feel like if you don't like something, you have to say it, you know? This is the government. We pay taxes and they work for us. So if we disagree with something, this is why we're here.
As a, Indian American, I was a field hockey player when I was in high school. And also soccer is big from where I come from, but women are not allowed to play. This is one of the countries who started allowing women to play.
Yes, we are marching on.
Keep coming together as people, as women. We hold up the sky. Women hold up the sky, and we have to keep making that very apparent, don't stop.
As a pediatrician, I'm an advocate of children and women, and I hope that we can keep our rights as women.
I think that especially for the generation of women today that truly benefited from the foremothers ahead of us, we have to look back and help younger women, teenage women, women coming out for their first jobs.
Tell me what democracy looks like. This is what democracy looks like.
Make sure they're getting paid equal, because that contributes to
Title
the overall
IX
health,
changed my life.
to the overall households.
We're all in this together. Thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it. You can tell this energy. It's going off today.
And there you see the raw emotion. We've seen this so many times over and over again for so many players. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you.
The vote of confidence.
All right, Josina, the other big story with the Rams, they have roster cuts later today, 4 o'clock Eastern. They have to get that roster down to 75, and there's been some interest as to whether or not Michael Sam has played well enough to make that top 75 and then eventually the final 53. How is he fitting in with his Rams teammates so far?
Well, Jay, defensive tackle Kendall Langford said that Michael Sam is simply just one of the guys, and he seems to be taking a rookie approach in terms of just listening and learning at his own pace. He said that you can tell he's just trying to feel his way through and perhaps see what guys he can relate to. But another Rams defensive player told me that, quote, Sam is respecting our space, and that from his perspective, he seems to think that Michael Sam is waiting to kind of take a shower as not to make his teammates feel uncomfortable, while Langford and linebacker Alec Ogletree told me that they didn't know that specifically and also weren't tracking that. Now, while Langford told me, listen, I have not been in the shower at the same time as Michael Sam, he said that there definitely could be a million reasons as to why that is. He said he could be doing extra work on the practice field. He could be riding his bike. He could be doing extra cardio. But overall, Langford said he seems to be adjusting to the life in the NFL and the speed of the game, adding this quote, if he doesn't make our team, I'm pretty sure somebody will definitely pick him up on another team. He has shown some flashes. And quick note, the Rams are not making Michael Sam available today as previously planned. And the St. Louis Rams, as all other teams in the NFL, have to get their rosters down to 75 players today by 4 p.m. Eastern, Jay.
All right, that's the deadline. It could happen.
But Trayvon Martin, Michael Brown, Tamir Rice, Eric Gardner, Laquan McDonald, Alton Sterling, Philando Castile. This is also our reality. Generations ago, legends like Jesse Owens, Jackie Robinson, Muhammad Ali, John Carlos, and Tommy Smith, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Jim Brown, Billie Jean King, Arthur Ashe, and countless others. They set a model for what athletes should stand for. So we choose to follow in their footsteps.
The racial profiling
has to stop. The shoot to kill mentality has to stop. Not seeing the value of black and brown bodies has to stop. But also the retaliation has to stop. The endless gun violence in places like Chicago, Dallas, not to mention Orlando, it has to stop. Enough. Enough is enough. Now, as athletes, it's on us to challenge each other to do even more than what we already do in our own communities. And the conversation cannot stop as our schedules get busy again.